You can tell us where you're joining from, what it is you do in the wider IPFS community and project, what you're trying to build, what you're trying to get out of today. We have some really awesome speakers. Really excited to chat with them. I'm excited too. Hawaii, nice. Sounds beautiful. Nice. Got an East Coast crowd. Do you have anyone in Europe? Oh, we got it. We got a Southern crowd. Virginia, North Carolina, Texas, Portugal. Woohoo! Awesome. Georgia, the country. Amazing, Xavier. I love Georgian food. Ooh, nice. Italy, UK, Denver, Los Angeles, Nairobi in Lithuania. Awesome. As usual, you guys all put me to shame. Yeah, we could go by a country we wish we were in. I wish I was in Greece. I'm very much looking forward to the next time we get together in person. It was sad to not get an IPFS camp this year, but maybe next year we can do a bigger in-person IPFS community event. No promises, but I think we can make it happen. And I think it'd be awesome to get this whole phenomenal community together again. Last IPFS camp, I still watch those videos like on a regular basis. All of the courses were amazing. Talks are super inspiring, and it was just great to meet everybody. So if you are ever interested in joining your fellow IPFS community members in person, I highly recommend it. Awesome. Okay. Well, seems like we're evening out to a good carrying capacity in terms of humans here. So I want to make sure that we don't take any time away from our awesome speakers. We have some really, really good things today. So I guess I'll take that opportunity to welcome everyone to the April 27th or April IPFS meetup. Excited to have you all here. A little bit about me as your moderator. I lead Protocol Labs design and development teams that work on IPFS, Filecoin's Lotus implementation, libp2p, and IPLD. So I get to work across the entire stack, and it's super, super fun. And if you ever want to chat with me, or if you have questions about any of these things and you want me to route you to the right place, or you're a new ecosystem team who's building something really cool and you have questions about how to upstream it or any other ways in which I can help, get in touch with me on Twitter, momac28. And I'd be really, really happy to chat with you. Really love getting to connect people in the space and go from one amazing project to a thriving community of projects that all depend on each other. It's amazing. Few reminders. This event, as all ones we run, abides by the IPFS Community Code of Conduct. So please be respectful and collaborative with your peers. You can ask questions or make comments at any time using the chat located on the right of your screen. So feel free to drop in there, tell us where you're dialing in from, what you're excited for, anything like that. All of these events get recorded and put up on YouTube, so you can find all of our past meetup events recorded there, and we will end up there too. Hello, YouTube. And if you're interested in speaking at a future IPFS meetup, email ipfs-community@protocol.ai, and we will help get that scheduled for you. Today's topic I'm really excited about. We've been getting so many amazing examples of people using IPFS in this space is NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. You may have heard there's a huge explosion around this that's been happening over the past couple months, from art to music to video clips to video games to metaverse assets or eggs. 3D eggs. We'll learn more. There's so much amazing creativity happening here. Super excited to hear about both how we're innovating on the best practices for using IPFS with NFTs, better tooling for using IPFS with NFTs, and then just the amazing things people are creating and building on IPFS. So excited to learn more about this. Here are our speakers for today. We're going to start out with Yusef telling us about NFT and IPFS best practices and the resources that you can use if you want to put your NFT on IPFS, or if you want to build a new minter or marketplace or something else that puts many NFTs on IPFS. And so making sure that everyone is aware of the best practices and standards. We're going to then hear from Ariel about hacking the Eggverse and the 3D eggs that he created. And then from NFTBase on what is NFTBase and how you can use it, and generally the cool things that they are enabling in metaverse land. And then finally from Alan Shaw on IPFS and Filecoin NFTs for the long haul and the new tools that are available for you to use IPFS and Filecoin to persist your NFTs. Cool, so that's our agenda for today. And I'm at time, so I'm going to stop presenting and hand it over to Yusef, who's going to be our first presenter.
Oh, hello. It's great to see everyone. Well, although I can't actually see you, but you can see me, I suppose. Let me share my screen so we can get started. All right, so IPFS and NFT best practices. What are those, right? And we've spent some time thinking about this, and we've kind of come up with a few recommendations that we think will ensure that your NFTs end up in a good state, because there's a lot of like subtle missteps you can make along the way. And because NFTs are pretty permanent, you kind of want to get it right on your first go if you can. But first, before we get into IPFS specifics, I'm going to talk about like what actually is an NFT, right? Because like it's not this image over here, although there is an NFT of this image. But of course, anybody can grab these pixels and stick them in a presentation or whatever. So the media itself is not really the core of the NFT in almost all cases. But what it is like a record of ownership that's public on a blockchain. So there's a few, like when you boil it all down, like what actually is the NFT? It has a unique identity. So there's only one specific one of each token. You can't trade them about. They're non-fungible, so you can't like exchange one for another in an arbitrary way. And then they can be transferred to a new owner and owned by a specific account on the blockchain. And they can generally only store a tiny amount of data directly on the blockchain. I mean, this is not strictly speaking like specific to NFTs themselves. Like you could imagine a blockchain where you could store infinite data, but today's NFTs are very limited in terms of this on-chain storage space. So they have this, escape hatch basically, which is like you can link to data off-chain using a URI, or uniform resource identifier. And this is the primary method of actually getting the NFT to mean something, as it were. So, right, an NFT, generally when people think of it, they're like, oh, it's this cool artwork, or it's music, or it's whatever. But on the blockchain itself, all you really have is the URI that points you to the thing. So here we are at our public service announcement. Friends don't let friends mint NFTs with HTTP links because they are fragile, although they are super familiar and easy, and they're widely supported. So it's easy to understand why you might want to use them. But they can change at any moment. Like, I mean, I can write a web server now, returns the current time. And every time you request that URL, it's going to return something different. And the same is true for any artwork that you might want to put, or any asset that you might want to make an NFT out of. The URL points to a location, and what's at the other end of that location can be anything. And so there's no guarantee that it's going to be the same thing that the NFT creator put there. So we have IPFS, as most people here will probably know. Like IPFS uses content addressing, and it basically, now you have a link that actually can't change, right? If the IPFS CID, or content ID, will only ever point to the specific piece of data that created it. So we think that this is the best way to refer to data from a blockchain, basically, because it will always point to the thing that you thought it was pointing to when you created the record. And on the retrieval side, you get built-in verification. So when your IPFS client fetches the data, it's going to compare the hash to the CID. If they're not a match, it just won't give you any data. So there's no like real danger that you're going to be like have the rug pulled out from under you, as it were. All your goodies are changed for something else. And it's also location independent, I should say. So you don't have to point at a specific server that could go down or change ownership or whatever. You just say, here's the content and go find it on IPFS, please. And that, it makes it so that you're not really tightly coupled to any particular host, which we think is a really powerful advantage. And then it can also sort of be served over HTTP. In fact, a lot of people use IPFS without really realizing it, just by going through IPFS gateways. You click a link to ipfs.io or dweb.link or Cloudflare's gateway. There's a bunch of gateways that you can use, and they'll just go and do the IPFS bits for you, and your web browser doesn't know the difference, right? So that's great. But we don't want to store those links on the blockchain because there's a bunch of gateways, and none of them is the canonical gateway. And also, they could disappear. Maybe, who knows? Like, it would be sad if your NFTs were inaccessible now, even though they're still on IPFS, because you pointed somebody at a gateway that no longer exists. So what we think the solution is just use this IPFS URI scheme. The NFT meta standards like ERC 721, they want you to return a URI, and hey, we've got one. It's really simple to construct one. You take the IPFS CID and you stick IPFS : / in front of it, and you've got an IPFS URI. You can also optionally have a path component if you store your data in IPFS inside a directory. Now the CID points to the directory object, but then you can also add the file name as a nice human readable path, which I think is nice, especially inside JSON metadata that sort of describes the NFT, where that JSON metadata can be stored in IPFS. So there's no real size limit. You can pack it full of as many bytes as you want, and human readable URIs are nice. And on chain, I still think it's kind of nice to have the human readable file name. But if you're really like trying to save every byte, you might only do the CID without the file name in there, that just to point to your metadata. Because the way this generally works, I didn't actually make a slide for this part, but there's two links in place, right? The NFT points to a metadata object, which is generally some JSON. And then that metadata object probably points to, it's unlikely that when you're buying an NFT, you were just buying an NFT of JSON and you're happy with that. Probably what you want is the artwork or whatever, maybe it's a house or something, but that's going to be described in and referenced in that JSON object. And so inside the JSON object, we also think IPFS URI is the way to go, because it's very clear and unambiguous. You get this extra bit of context that this isn't just some random hash from any old system anywhere. It's an IPFS hash. You can use IPFS to retrieve it, and here's how. And then also, it's pretty easy to rewrite one of these into a gateway URL, which is, so if I click on this thing here, it's actually going to be serving it from dweb.link. And there you go. So that can happen in your presentation layer. If you're building a platform for NFTs, you can write a little tiny bit of JavaScript, take an IPFS URI and point it at your favorite gateway, or you can do both, because if you just have an IPFS URI, people that have Brave installed or the IPFS companion browser extension, they can click on these URIs directly and it'll all just work either through their local IPFS node or through their default gateway if they have one configured. But then if you want to reach the broadest audience, like right when you're presenting the link to the user for them to click on, maybe that's when you rewrite it into an HTTP gateway URL. And then they can also have this is me talking about what should you use when. Probably should have skipped to this slide a second ago. On chain, just store the IPFS URI and then return it from your metadata URI function that is in your smart contract. In metadata, like in that JSON bundle, again, IPFS URI is the way to go. If you want, you can totally have like another field in there that has mirrors that serve over HTTP or something like that for, just for redundancy's sake. But we feel that the IPFS content ID, because it's specific to the data, is the best like canonical link. And yeah, the URI is a nice way to package that up. And then on the web, gateway URL. And if you can't, like if it makes sense to display it to the user, have an IPFS URI in there that they can use Brave or other IPFS native tools with. And if you, as you're, you know, a lot of the recommendations I'm making to people that are building platforms, but this also kind of applies to people minting NFTs, just to kind of like have an understanding in your head of like, what do I want my NFT to look like under the covers? It's nice if it has IPFS URIs in it, right? And that's something that you can kind of check out with the NFT platforms that you might be working with. Like, do they actually do this in a sensible way, or what's going on? So, and then there's another thing to mention here about persistence, right? IPFS is, you know, it's a peer-to-peer content distribution protocol and addressing system. And as data is requested, it kind of like spreads out through the network. You know, when I fetch some data from somebody else's IPFS node, my node is going to keep a copy. Next time somebody wants it, they'll maybe get it from me instead. But my copy is going to age out, right? It's a temporary cache, basically. So that you can't really depend on like IPFS. You can't just put your data onto IPFS at large and just forget about it. Somebody has to be there to provide the data to the network on an ongoing basis. And that's, you know, an IPFS node that's connected to the internet running 24/7. And that could be your node if you want. We have IPFS cluster, which is an awesome project for coordinating several IPFS nodes to all pin or, you know, maintain the same content over time. And that in fact is used by pinning services under the hood. If you don't want to run your own IPFS cluster, you can run a pinning service, stuff like that. There's other alternatives that we'll get into later that PL is developing. But the key takeaway is like somebody has to keep the data alive, as it were, and provide it to the network. So that's, you know, whatever solution you have for that, it's just something to keep in mind, because we want, you know, NFTs to always be resolvable, right, through via IPFS. Like if that's going to be your primary link, then as a data provider, you just want to make sure that there's always a way to get data out of IPFS and host your own, use a pinning service. Those are reasonable options, and I'll talk about another upcoming option in a minute. And then here, I just want to point you guys at some resources. Mostly, if you want to really like get into more detail about like why, you know, these recommendations are the way they are and stuff like that, we did a write-up on the IPFS doc site about this a few weeks ago, and you can go check it out at this URL down here. There's also at that same site, if you go to mint an NFT with IPFS, you can see a little command line NFT minter app I wrote, and it kind of, you know, it's sort of a toy example, but it'll show you the way that like we think NFT metadata should look and like how the links actually work in practice. And then I also wanted to just call out some really good content on Pinata's blog, because they've been producing awesome NFT resources for a while now, and I think it's worth a click around for anybody that has not seen it yet. So I figured I'd toss that in here as well. Oh, so this is a sneak preview of Alan's talk towards the end of this meetup, but PL is launching a new service for NFT data storage called nft.storage, and it's awesome, and you guys should check it out. So basically, like all that stuff I said about persistence, well, this is us doing it for you, because we want NFTs to be awesome, and like we want to preserve the sort of, you know, cultural artifacts that are being created and traded and everything else. So I don't want to spoil it too much. I'm sure Alan will get under the covers and tell us all about how it works and stuff. But it's a very like sort of set it and forget it approach, especially if you're just, if you have other things to think about, you're building an NFT platform, maybe you want to use IPFS, but you don't want to like learn everything about IPFS right now, maybe check out nft.storage. And that's really it. I think that if anybody here has questions for me, hit me up. I'm probably going to give you a faster response if you email me. Twitter is something I very rarely check, but I do have a thing on there. And yeah, I think, you know, as we're learning more about NFTs. I'm sure we will have more things to say about this, but I think the key takeaway is like an NFT, you can't change it once you're done. If you have a mutable link to like a link that can change, then you kind of lost that wonderful property of a blockchain, which is that it's immutable and lasts forever. But mutable links kind of undermine that. So an IPFS CID is forever. So why not use it? Yeah. That's about all I got for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yusef. Really excited to get those best practices everywhere. I think you have a couple of questions in chat. So maybe you can hop in and respond to those and we can move on to our next presenter so we stay on time.
Oh, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let's see.
Sorry, if you could answer them in the chat, that'd be optimal, just so that we can move on to our next presenter. Sorry about that.
That's great. Oh, totally.
Thanks. Perfect. So next we have Ariel talking about hacking the Eggverse and the project created around 3D eggs. I'm excited to have this experience. So I'll pass it over to you and excited to hear more.
Hello. Yes, I am also excited for the experience and all of those things. So yeah, let's get into it. So my project is called Yaytso, and it's based around creating 3D eggs and also smashing as many difficult to pronounce words into one slide. But let us begin. So the first question is, which came first, the chicken or the egg, which is a question we're all pretty familiar with. One moment, I forgot to start recording. Anyway, so to answer that question, we now have an answer, which is the Yaytso Ethereum contract, conveniently. So just a little bit about myself. Obviously, an egg enthusiast, also a front-end developer. So all of these things are really fun to play with as a person just trying to visualize data, can just tap into the blockchain, can just use IPFS. I don't have to worry about nearly as many annoying back-end things that I'm terrible at actually engineering. I may be a chicken in disguise that's still being discovered. And then really into community building. And I think there's a lot of things within this stuff that inspired me. Eggs, for some reason, were the vessel. So why Yaytso? Well, Yaytso means egg in Russian. I am part Russian, though I do not speak Russian, so this is my first word. It was inspired by Fabergé eggs, which are sort of the original collector item, and they work pretty well as a model for NFTs. And the basic premise is that an SVG and a GLTF is uploaded. Okay, apparently I have a bright green.
Ariel, are you intending to be green? You definitely are.
I am not intending
but
to
I
be
thought
green.
this could totally be intentional. Unknown.
I mean, we'll roll with it. I'm green, though my recording won't be green. So anyway, and then we'll put all of those into a metadata JSON that goes up to IPFS, and that is the URI that is referenced on chain. And I'm actually using NFT.storage, which was unveiled for the NFT hackathon where I started this project, and it's been a super convenient resource and tool for pinning stuff to IPFS and through Filecoin. So really appreciate that being done to sort of alleviate some of the headache of how I'm going to store all these freaking eggs on the internet. And so the technology that I'm using as a front-end person, just React TypeScript, because it just works really well. I mean, it doesn't work incredibly well with 3JS, but we can make it happen. It's using Ethers as the library to connect to Web3. And then I have a very simple backend that just kind of does all the IPFS stuff and hides my API key. And then the contract is a ERC 721 Solidity contract. So I'm missing my demo slide. So we'll just go into the demo now, which I guess will also be green. So this is the Yaytso webpage. Very simple, but it's pretty clear that you are to upload a pattern. So I don't think you can see my browser, but you'll see
We're struggling
something.
a little bit because it's very washed out. And so we can't actually tell this is a browser window. We did see the upload pattern button.
Okay, well, I'll just share my screen and stop trying to be fancy.
Yeah, you are very fancy.
Yeah, thank you. We'll get a little less fancy. Is that better?
So much better. Thank you.
Okay,
great. We can see an egg now. That's great.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty ideal. So we'll put, okay, I have various frogs here. We'll go with a frog to start out with. So basically the image gets uploaded and it gets put onto the canvas, and that is turned into a canvas texture for Three.js that then patterns it. So we'll put this frog up here. So we can also decide who we want to send this to. I'll just go with myself for now because I don't know any of your Ethereum addresses, and we'll call this blue, not new, blue froggy, and then continue, and then this is a blue froggy created Meetup. And then so we have our confirmation, and it bounces in excitement. Usually this guy has something to say too, but unfortunately I may have broken him. But okay, so now the SVG and the GLTF are pinning to IPFS, which takes a moment, and also creating the metadata. I don't know if you can see I have a MetaMask notification that came through, and I'm just going to confirm it. This is live on Rinkeby as well. So confirm it. Our little man is very excited now. And there we go. We have created this egg, and it may take a second. Oh, there we go. So this is a little receipt. We have the recipient as ourself, the transaction hash, and we have the IPFS URI. And we can view this on OpenSea. It should have populated. We can also view it here in the application. I think my internet is struggling a little bit. So we have our little blue frog. We can take a look at him. He's a little not as well lit here. And he also exists in the general NFT universe. And then the other thing I added recently, you can also look at the collection here. See your beautiful egg collection. Obviously, I was a little busy this morning. And then the other little fun thing I added was a way to draw. So I'll use my fancy pen to write. There we go. And we'll quickly create this egg. I'll send it to myself because I'm a little greedy. And looks good. Okay, so, and then same little process. Okay, now my screens are a little all over the place, but I'll go back to my slides real quick. So yeah, that's the basic little premise. My sort of mission behind this is kind of playing and learning and discovery and some generosity as well. I think the NFT sort of world has had a lot of sort of speculation, a lot of value. It's been kind of crazy to pick apart the things about it that are interesting internally and creatively. And so within sort of playing and learning, I think there's a lot of potential for people that have the knowledge of these new concepts. I know I've learned a lot and I still have a lot to learn, but hopefully there are ways that they can better sort of teach people about what's happening, and people, hopefully my application can help sort of the new users enter into the space and have a tool that they can play with it and understand concepts a little better once they have a playground of sorts. And then sort of some other ideas, just creating space and cultures around these. Maybe eggs are the ticket for that. Who knows? I guess we'll see. And then obviously eggs work well as a thing to be hunted or discovered. And then within that too, just within the whole ecosystem of NFTs being transferable by nature and playing with those ideas as a way to sort of change how we are gifting things to people in a digital way. There's something elegant about using this technology in a simple way, I think. And just thinking about using it in space, I haven't cracked this egg yet, but using either like coordinates and spatial hash grids, and how can we define space using content hashing within IPFS and sort of other tools where we don't have to do as much sort of guessing or random sort of storage and other things. And then for the eggs themselves, one of the elements is that they're unique. And currently it's a little naive. It just uses an SVG, the masked egg SVG, and takes that content hash from IPFS and saves that on chain. And so any SVG that comes through that is identical is rejected. And I think that it's a nice way to have the URI and also have a way to enforce some sort of uniqueness, but I think it could be taken a little further and could use image convolution and other sort of AI machine learning techniques to generalize, get features, and those could be defined with hashes in an interesting way that has yet to be discovered. So what's next, or what I was mentioning, probably some scavenger hunts through egg drops of sorts, still figuring that out, but I've done scavenger hunts in the past, so I'm really excited about those ideas. Having some way that eggs evolve, they grow into chickens and such, or other animals, so naturally these eggs should have some way to transform eventually. And then some other fun ideas I had from people is creating Easter eggs in websites. So it'd be cool to have some sort of simple injection that someone can plug into their website and have a very meta egg experience. And I think that's about all I have, and I'll leave you with this. Definitely one of my greatest inspirations is this episode of Always Sunny, and I offer you an egg in this trying time as well. And that's all I got.
Amazing. I also adore May I offer you an egg in this trying time. This is so fun. I love it. I love what you're creating here. I cannot wait to participate in an egg hunt. It sounds like a great time. Especially since we all missed Easter, stuck in lockdown this year. It'd be extra fun.
Right. Next time, for sure.
Next time. Super cool. Thank you so much for sharing what you created, and definitely everyone go try it out. Alrighty then, moving on to our next speaker. What is NFTBase? Someone turn their video off of mute so that I can figure out who is the next speaker, because all I have is NFTBase, and that could be anybody.
This is the recorded video that we're about to share.
Well then, perfect then. Well then I will welcome up the video from NFTBase.
This is John from NFTBase. My appreciation to Ms. Jen Turner and Ms. Raquel Candeias for giving me a chance to presentation. So let's get it started. So NFTBase is the DAO-based metaverse marketplace and community for NFT. So we believe that NFT is a very good way of funding for people who can use the resource most efficiently, and NFT can be a good way to make a social good. So we want to make the world where human creativity is fully respected. So here's our keywords. We want to be an NFT marketplace player in NFT area, and we want to add more value by integrating metaverse 3D art gallery on our platform. So we pursue eventually DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, and our ultimate goal is we will be a community in NFT area. So all of these should work on IPFS because we believe that decentralization is really important, and by doing this we can make our core values come true: creativity, beauty, and public interest as well. So when you say we are going to make a NFT marketplace, and then a lot of people are asking me, hey, what is different from existing NFT marketplace? So here's our differentiation strategies. So we want to make a change. We want to make a difference. So the first one is metaverse. We want to give sincere artists more chances to sell their NFT items. So what is current problems? So there are so many copycat NFT artworks. So it means there are a lot of supply, more than demand. And this causes low quality NFT problem. And there are no chances for sincere artists who want to display and who want to sell their NFT items on marketplace. So here's our solution. So we want to curate qualified artists, and we want to make only qualified NFT items listed on our platform. So to do this, we will make a verification system for artists, and this is done by users, not by NFTBase itself. And we will make a invitation system like Clubhouse application, and we want to make a curating system like Steemit. So we want to give artists more chances to display their NFT items on Metaverse 3D art gallery, or even VR gallery as well. So under the image, you can see there are 3D art gallery places, so you can see how it works. So let's move to the next step. So the second thing is DAO. We want to make a DAO, and we want to give more power to users to make them be part of NFTBase. So current problems are there are no enough motivation to contribute for the platform, and artists are only focusing on their NFT sale. There are no space, there are no chances for users to contribute themselves for the platform. So our solution is we want to make a governance system by governance token. We want to give more power to users through governance token, making users participate in the platform by giving curating power and voting power and invitation tickets through the governance token. So we want to make users feel they are part of our platform. And yeah, this is our strategies. And the third one is we want to be a community as a marketplace. So we want to make users interact with an NFTBase because even though there are a lot of artists in existing marketplaces, but artists need to advertise their NFT on Twitter or Instagram and other platforms. So we believe that there is an external economy effect on existing SNS. So if we make them interact in the platform itself, it will make a huge platform effect, and it will be a very good strategy. So our solution is to make users interact in our platform, and we want to be a community where artists and users can get feedbacks from other people. So to do this, we will make Trollbox in 3D art galleries, and we want to make a personal message system on our platform, and also a posting system on our profile, user's profile. So this is a very good, effective way to make users interact each others. So this is overall view of our differentiation strategies. As you can see, all of these are marketplace platforms, but we are going to make a metaverse community and DAO system. So this is our overall differentiation strategies. And eventually, through all of these strategies, we want to make a world where human creativity is fully respected. And this is done. This is can be done through IPFS, the next internet. I'm going to show how NFTBase is using IPFS. There are 3 steps in here, and the first one is uploading NFTBase website on IPFS. And the second one is integrating IPFS hash with nftbase.eth ENS domain. And the third one is storage of NFT metadata on IPFS. And these are how NFTBase is using IPFS. So to save time, I've already downloaded IPFS and set it up on my Mac computer. And as you can see here, this is a IPFS folder, and I downloaded my NFTBase website resource in the folder. So let's get it started from terminal. So we need to move to desktop and go IPFS. And as you can see here, we've already in the folder, and we can now start IPFS daemon. So it takes a little time, but if you wait a little bit, and then the daemon is running, and we can move to web UI of here. So let's go to the web UI, and as you can see here, my computer is connected to IPFS, and I'm ready to upload my website on IPFS. So let's import our resource here, and because as we want to upload our folder here, and so yeah, this is what I downloaded before and uploaded. Upload it, and once it's done, we got the hash. So this is the first part that we are using IPFS, and it means that our website is pinned on IPFS. Uploaded our website resource on IPFS, and you got the hash here. So we move to ENS domain website, and let's search nftbase.eth. So as the owner of the ENS domain, you can set your IPFS hash here, and to save time, I've already registered IPFS hash here. So now you can integrate your IPFS hash with your ENS domain. And once you access to website nftbase.eth.link, this website is pinned on IPFS, and as you can see here, you can access to our website with this domain. This is awesome, and all features is working pretty well right now, and even you can log in here, and it works pretty well. So this website is being hosted on IPFS, and this is the second part that we are using IPFS right now. Part how we are using IPFS is related to storage metadata of NFT. On our platform, there is create menu here, and once you click, you can make single NFT tokens, NFT item, or multiple NFT item. Once you click single NFT item, you can create NFT according to ERC 721 standard. You can upload whatever it is, PNG, GIF, MP4, MP3. It's okay. So I'm going to upload my NFTBase login. After putting all the information, you can create your NFT. And because we believe that decentralization is really important, the file metadata should be uploaded to IPFS. These are how we are using IPFS. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have a great day. Thank you, IPFS community.
Woohoo! Thank you, NFTBase. Super cool. Thank you for the double demos. Very, very nice and cool to see what's being built here. I hope everyone enjoyed that as well and is excited about displaying their NFTs in the metaverse. I know I'm super excited. I've been really enjoying running around GatherTown, and would be really cool to be able to put up your own artwork inside of your virtual office. I'm jazzed. It's going to happen. Awesome. We're running ahead of schedule, which is always phenomenal. So exciting. But I'll pass it off to Alan for interplanetary timelessness, IPFS and Filecoin for the NFT long haul, to tell us all about the new tools at your disposal for minting all of your favorite NFTs.
Okay, right. Here we go. Alrighty, I assume you can see the screen. And all of that jazz. Welcome. Hi, I'm Alan. I'm an engineer at Protocol Labs. I'm kind of new to NFTs. I guess we kind of all are, really. When I found out about them and I was getting interested in them, I was really happy to see that IPFS was being used to store them. So for instance, if I go to this NFT marketplace site, super rare, I can just kind of click through, have a look at any NFTs, for instance, maybe this one. And if I go do a little bit of spelunking in the Ethereum blockchain, I can just click through, have a look at the contract that was created for this particular NFT, paste in the token ID, and look here, it's an IPFS hash. And this URL is a URL on a IPFS gateway. And I can just bring it up like that. So that's super cool. NFTs stored on IPFS. NFTs, the actual artwork, so the image or the video or whatever it is that is the actual NFT thing is stored usually off chain, and that's because it's prohibitively expensive to store a lot of data on chain. And IPFS has some nice properties for off-chain data that we'll go into in a little bit. As I learned a little bit more about NFTs, I came to realize that actually the developers that were enabling NFT creators, so marketplaces like Foundation, like Super Rare, like Zora, they actually really cared about users being able to access their data should they ever actually disappear. Oof. So if they disappeared, they don't want that to happen. They don't want all of those NFTs that people have bought, created out there to just suddenly also disappear. And so IPFS really fits this billing, and it can actually help solve this problem. And so it's really not surprising that it's being used. But in case you're kind of new to IPFS, let me just explain a little. So if you put data on an IPFS node, I've just chosen this little image of a complete random. It's an NFT. It's like some generated mountains or something. But if you put some data on an IPFS node, firstly, you get a content identifier, a CID. And CIDs are a kind of cryptographic hash, and they address the content, not its location. It means that any given CID will always refer to the same piece of content. Or to put it another way, if the content changes, the CID for that content would change. Now, if we didn't store a CID on chain and used a regular URL, then that could be problematic. Like, the URL, the content at the end of the URL could be deleted. It could be removed by the owner. Like the domain could expire, or the hosting perhaps expire, and it could just disappear off the internet completely. It also could be altered. So you could have like an image of a cat, which is your favorite NFT in the whole wide world, that actually then someone came along and changed it to be an NFT of a dog, and you'd be darn annoyed about that. So yeah. Also, like maybe like a URL to some content isn't accessible in your country. Maybe there's a big old firewall around your country that disallows you from accessing stuff. So actually, you really need to be able to get things from other nodes and people and places that are within that boundary. So IPFS can help there. Anyway, how does this CID thing work? Well, if someone else requests that data by its CID, then they'll receive it. And now two nodes can serve the content. So that's super cool. It's kind of like this. So someone else can come along and they'll get the content. And it means the original node that had the content can actually go away. It's gone. And the data will still be retrievable from the other nodes. There's caveats. of course. The two caveats to this. The caveat number one is that if all of the nodes that have the content go away, then nobody has the content. You can't get it anymore. So we don't want that to happen. The second caveat is garbage collection. So depending on your configuration of your IPFS node, garbage collection may run at like a certain time when your configured repo storage limit is hit, if you put too much stuff in there, or it can be run completely manually. So there's like API, you can run it from the CLI as well. So what you need to do is tell IPFS that this content is not garbage. So this is a super rare NFT. It's not trash. Don't throw it in the trash, IPFS. So yeah, they are the caveats. And so this concept of like telling IPFS that something is not trash is what's often referred to as pinning in IPFS. And if you don't pin that data, it'll eventually be garbage collected. So even if the content is super popular and lots of people have it on the IPFS network, then it could still eventually exit the network if there's no one pinning it, if garbage collection runs, yeah, so that could happen. And so these two caveats are generally why developers use a third-party service like Pinata, like Textile, like Fleek to store their content. And that is because they have nodes that are publicly available, stay online 24/7, and they pin the content so that it doesn't disappear off the network. So nft.storage. This is the thing. It's a new thing that we've been working on. Hooray! If you came to the NFT hack, the ETH Global NFT hack, then you might have recognized some of this talk, and even nft.storage. We built it originally for that, but we're launching it publicly now, and it's a place where you can store your off-chain NFT data, and you can do that safe in the knowledge that it will be there tomorrow, and it hopefully goes some way to solving that permanence problem, and it's free. It's free for as long as we can possibly make it free, and one of the big ideas is it just should be easy to store your data on IPFS. So how does it work? Well, you upload your NFT data, your off-chain NFT data to nft.storage, and nft.storage stores that data on IPFS nodes, so multiple nodes. So that's good. And okay, so far so good. But what is the difference between your regular pinning service? Well, behind the scenes, nft.storage is actually negotiating deals with to store your data with miners on the Filecoin network, and the Filecoin network incentivizes miners to store data. They get paid to store data, and they also typically get paid when data is retrieved as well. So, so why is that good? Well, if NFT.storage goes away, and every IPFS peer who ever fetched the content went away, then the miners will still have the content because we've made deals with them, and they're miners. They are mining on the network, and they're here for the long haul. And so you can think of the miners as just another set of IPFS peers with strong incentives to continue storing the data. And so yeah, NFT.storage public launch is on Thursday. Hopefully, if everything goes to plan. The URL is nft.storage, and the site is up now if you want to go and take a look. We have a super simple HTTP API. We have clients in JavaScript, Go, Rust, Ruby, Python, PHP, and Java. And we also have an open API schema. So if your favorite programming language was not in that list that I just read out, then you should be able to generate a client in that language relatively easily. Or just use the HTTP API directly. So after launch, we're hoping to introduce a new metadata API, which should make minting NFTs even easier, and it builds on a lot of those best practices that Yusef was talking about earlier. And later, we're also going to be introducing wallet auth, so NFTs can truly be stored by content creators and not just by marketplaces on behalf of them. Cool. So we are also going to be starting our Save the NFTs initiative. We're going to crawl the Ethereum chain from their genesis, and we're going to upload all the NFTs we find to nft.storage, so they'll be stored. So no more will incredible artworks the people have already created be lost in the sands of time. Yeah. It's not just Ethereum either. We're going to see if we can save NFTs that are on other blockchains. So And of course, we'll be visualizing all that data on nft.storage. And we've got this awesome idea to create a new NFT checker. There's already an NFT checker, but this would be a new, different one where you can query the health of your NFT. So you could do stuff like see how many IPFS providers for your NFT there are. Like you could see details of the Filecoin storage deals of that NFT, like what miners are storing it and what deals is it in. And we'll obviously make all of those kind of metrics available to developers over a public API. I think that's about all I have to say, but thanks for listening. That felt really quick, so there we go. Go and check out nft.storage. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Alan. There is a question in the chat, and you have 4 extra minutes, so would let you answer it around the 100 megabyte limit for nft.storage right now. Can you give a quick explanation on why that exists?
That exists because so one thing we did find was when we did research for this is that actually quite a lot of marketplaces already have a restriction that is less than 100 megabytes. So we're doing okay, but the 100 megabytes storage limit exists right now because we're using Cloudflare workers and they have a 100 megabyte storage limit for uploading, for not storage limit, but upload limit. So that is why there's a limit on that right now. And so what we will do eventually is kind of do the chunking and splitting on the client side and submit various chunks up under that 100 megabyte limit in the future, so that we can raise it. Is the plan, is the grand plan. But for now it is 100 megabytes. Hopefully it will be raised soon.
Thank you, thank you. Awesome. Huge thanks to all of our presenters. And there are great questions in the chat, so please do continue asking them and pop back in there to help answer people's questions if you see any questions related to your talk. I'm going to share my screen again, since we're just about out of time. Reminder, these are the people that we chatted with. All of the videos for these talks will be put up on YouTube, so you can go and take a look if you missed any of them, or if you want to dive deeper into how exactly was that wonderful egg wrapping happening, or NFTBase, how can they actually put things in the metaverse? So can answer some of those specific questions. If you enjoyed this, we'd love to see you again next month. Our next monthly meetup is May 25th at the normal time. So hopefully see all of you there. And don't forget, if you are excited about new things that are happening, come follow us on YouTube and on Twitter, and subscribe to the IPFS weekly newsletter. We can stick a link to that in the chat as well, so that there's always new content and new people who are building the space, and it's always so fun to follow along and understand the kind of discoveries and innovation people are doing in this community and ecosystem, so that we can all learn and get better. So big thank you all for coming out today. This was super fun, and I'm super excited to see what the next couple of months of NFT land looks like. I feel like people are creating new exciting products and minters and marketplaces every single week. So I imagine we'll be ready to do another NFT focused meetup just in no time at all. So big thank you, and thanks for the great conversation in the chat as well. Some really good stuff there. Awesome. Cool. Well, feel free to hang out in chat if you have additional questions. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. It's good to see all of you.